Figgis on the occasion of the launch of the Ginger Man letters. Today is the first anniversary of the death of J.P. Dunleavy, or Mike as he was known. And it's a fitting occasion both for myself, his publisher, and Bill Dunn, his editor, friend, and recording angel, who has travelled over from New Jersey with Christine, his wife, to be with us. Welcome, Bill Dunn, wherever you are. Bill. The book being launched this evening is a fascinating chronicle of Mike's life in Ireland, London, and Westmeath, covering the years 1948 to 2006. And the letters themselves are vivid documents that will outlast their maker, I think. Its editor, Bill Dunn, has provided exemplary apparatus, headnotes, commentary, and I'd like to thank him warmly, along with Team Lilyfoot, Susie, Karen, Georgie, and Jen, for their support in delivering this complex and beautiful book to its readers. The Ginger Man, I think, was one of those landmark novels, once read, never forgotten, and this is its inside story. It's now my honour to introduce our guest speaker, Dr. Sandra Collins, Director of the National Library. She was present as our guest at Trinity's commencement proceedings in 2016 when Mike was awarded an honorary doctorate of letters. Prior to her appointment at the National Library, she was Director of the Digital Repository of Ireland at the Royal Irish Academy by way of UCD and DCU, a concatenation of acronyms. In 2014, she was nominated as one of the Silicon Republic's top 100 women in technology. Mike was an analog guy, and so am I. But here we have Sandra to draw us into cyberspace while keeping our feet on the ground, our minds on the page, and our head in the stars. Sandra Collins.
Thanks, Anthony. Ladies and gentlemen, what an honour and an absolute privilege to be here this evening to launch the Ginger Man Letters, correspondence by J.P. Dunleavy, Gaynor Christ and A.K. Donoghue, edited by Bill Dunn in a beautiful edition by the Lilyfoot Press. It's poignant to be launching it today on the anniversary of J.P. Dunleavy's death at age 91 on the 11th of September 2017. I'm sure that's very much at the forefront of many people's thoughts here this evening. But the launch of this book is an opportunity for us to celebrate the life and work of this great Irish or Irish-American author. This book brings to life correspondence between author J.P. Dunleavy and his Trinity College friends, Gaynor Stephen Christ and Arthur Kenneth Donoghue, who were the inspirations for the main characters in The Ginger Man, Sebastian Dangerfield and Kenneth O'Keefe. These remarkable characters are so vividly portrayed in the novel that they remain alive in your memory for decades. I reread The Ginger Man in its 60th anniversary edition by the Lilyfoot Press this year, and it was exactly like stepping back in time. And it's not just the characters that come to life in the book, but Dublin City itself. I was especially delighted when rereading it to even find the National Library in its pages. Long-suffering O'Keefe bent over tomes in the National Library, studying Irish and dreaming of seduction. I'm sure that doesn't happen today. The Ginger Man features 220 letters from J.P. Dunleavy's archive, which combine to tell a compelling story of the complicated composition, the problematic publication, and the fascinating afterlife of this book, and these three colourful individuals. The letters are written in three distinct voices, and they read like J.P. Dunleavy's fiction itself, engaging, unpredictable, funny and outrageous, reflective and revealing. Editor Bill Dunn was a Dunleavy fan who became a collector. He was determined to meet his favourite author, and indeed he did. In 1990, when Bill was a newspaper reporter, he interviewed Dunleavy during a US book tour, They hit it off, and instead of the scheduled 45 minutes interview, they spent the entire day together. Bill would visit Dunleavy many times at his home in Levington Park in County Westmeath and became a lifelong friend. And I think when I first met Bill, that was the thing that just shone out of him. In 2005, Bill researched and wrote the comprehensive inventory of Dunleavy's archive, which became the reference document then for Dunleavy's discussions with universities and libraries across the world interested in acquiring his papers. The library at Levington Park, devoted to his manuscripts, illuminate his writing, his artistry and his life. It's a remarkable archive which would be a proud addition to any library which celebrates Irish literature and protects the legacy of great Irish writers. Preserving an archive of this depth and richness is an important service to the research and understanding of Irish literature, so that writers and researchers can explore the inspiration and the craft behind the writing that they know and love so well. During Bill's research, he read JP's correspondence with Gaynor Christ and A.K. Donoghue, and he recommended that the letters should be collected and published in book form. And that was the start of a journey that leads to the launch of the book here tonight. People may be familiar with the story of Brendan Behan and his unscheduled visit to J.P. Dunleavy's cottage in Wicklow in 1951. When Behan found no one home, he read and edited the first draft of The Ginger Man while helping himself to JP's food and drink. Later, we would all be so lucky. Later telling Dunleavy that this book of yours is going to go around the world and beat the bejesus out of the Bible. And he was right. People may be entranced in the book to find a 3,000-word reminiscence by Gaynor Christ's older daughter, Mariana, who remembers her father well and lovingly. She also reports that she was babysat a few times by Brendan Behan while her parents attended classes at Trinity College. And she was permitted in Dublin pubs despite being a child because she was accompanied by this well-known figure of Brendan Behan. The letters include ordinary insights into the family life of J.P. Dunleavy, where his son, Philip, who's here tonight, does well in school, unlike his father. And they also chart the 21-year long and acrimonious relationship between the author and his first publisher, Maurice Gerodius of the Olympia Press. As was noted in the Guardian's obituary, Dunleavy was not a man with whom to pick a fight. The Ginger Man letters is illustrated with over 60 period photos, many never published before. There are family photos, photos from Trinity College and from MacDade's, and photos of J.P. Dunleavy looking very dapper in Levington Park. I was really touched and honoured to find myself in a photo with Anthony Farrell, his publisher, and JP at Dunleavy's honorary doctorate ceremony in Trinity College last year, where his literary legacy was recognised by his alma mater. JP Dunleavy lives on in his work. The Ginger Man, as Brendan Behan had forecast, has gone around the world. I don't know if it has quite beaten the Bible, maybe not yet, but it has never gone out of print in English since its publication in 1955, and it has been translated into 24 languages, where particular importance, the title has often produced some intriguingly apt translations, including Carrot-Topped Playboy in Japanese, and I think very apt, Honourable Scoundrel in Spanish. So he's a much-loved author, and I think that love shines through in the reminiscence of other Irish writers, particularly the tributes collected by Martin and paid by so many Irish poets, writers and artists on his passing last year. The Ginger Man letters, in effect then, is J.P. Dunleavy's 27th book, but this is not our last opportunity to celebrate one of his publications. I look forward to another gathering of friends and admirers of J.P. Dunleavy in 2019, when Lilliput Press will publish his last novel entitled A Letter Marked Personal. So we get to do this again. So finally, I finish by congratulating Bill and the Lilliput Press on this wonderful new book.
Well done.
And now to wrap up for us, Bill Dunn, the man himself. And everybody's welcome back in McDay's, where we booked a private room upstairs. And that's it. Okay, oh yes, the fire exit. I was asked to point out the fire exit at the back.
Anthony, thank you. Dr. Collins, thank you so much. I'm honored. As Dr. Collins mentioned, I am a long-standing fan of J.P. Donlevy. Started reading him in my teens. In my 20s, I became a serious collector of his work. In my 30s, I was determined to meet him. And the opportunity presented itself when he was in the States, where I'm from. I'm not local. Promoting a new book. And we were to have an interview of 45 minutes, but we really hit it off. I came with 2 valises of all his first editions, and at the end of the interview, I started pulling them out. The first was The Ginger Man, the Olympia edition, which he signed, and he marveled at the condition of it. And I brought out more books. He signed those. So I went home with a signed collection of J.P. Donlevy first editions. But after my interview, I said, can I take you to your next interview? He said, no, I'll catch a cab. I said, no, my car's right outside. So I drove him to National Public Radio, and I just parked the car. There was a spot right in front of the door, which there never is, and walked in with him. He signed in at the security desk, and I just followed him up to the studio. I walked in, and there I'm listening to this national broadcast, and he's talking about me, having just met Bill Dunn, who presented me with the first edition of The Ginger Man. To make a long story short, I did wind up spending the entire day with him, and at the end, I would have stayed longer, but my wife and I were having guests for dinner that night, so I had to get home. As we were saying goodbye, he said, if you're ever in Ireland, you must come visit. And I took that to be a firm invitation. I tested my theory a few years later when I was over to run the Dublin Marathon. I finished standing, and I went to Granger's on Talbot Street. I selected that because it's mentioned not by name, but it is in the Ginger Man as the house of the Aspidistra. So I replenished my fluids there, and with a few pints of the black stuff, I called JP and said, may I take you out to dinner? He said, no, you must come visit me at Leamington Park. So that was the first of many visits, many enjoyable, unforgettable visits. And it was in 2005, my wife, Chris, said, he needs an inventory of his archive, which is voluminous. So I proposed that, and after thinking about it, he said yes. So I took a sabbatical from work, went over, and I started the inventory in my own collection, which is significant. Then I went over there and dove into his archive, his papers. And it was so thrilling, it was so exciting. I found things that had been misplaced. I found Richard Harris letters. I found a fan letter from Jackie Kennedy. I found Robert Redford letters. But I also read the correspondence of J.P., Gaynor Christ, and Arthur Kenneth Donahue. And I said, you should publish this as a book. And he was interested, but it never materialized in his lifetime. But here we are today, and I must thank Philip Donlevy, Karen Donlevy for their support and permitting me to gather the letters, and also Anthony for his support. And he has a wonderful team, Susie Freeman, Georgie Polhill, Karen Nolte, and Jen Van Norden, and Mariana Christ, who could not join us today. She lives in Spain. I wanted her in the book, and I started by sending emails and phoning every Chris in the British Isles. I finally found a relative who said, "Oh no, she's in Spain." So I made contact, and she agreed to write a reminiscence, and it's wonderful. It's touching, funny, and very revealing. So I thank you all for coming, and we remember JP. He will live on not only in this book, but in works to come. There are other books to come out of the archive, and Brent Bean was right. The book is still going around the world. In fact, last year it was published in Persian. It was published in Iran, if you can believe that. But the translation probably bears no relation to it because it went through the religious police. So thank you all for coming.
The bill is available for signing, and the book is €25, a very good price. Says Richard Pine.